When the police were looking for Harry Ligma, a 32-year-old man who had recently been reported missing, they had instead found an obese dog at the spot where Harry had last been spotted. Hoping that the animal would be able to give the officers a clue about Harry's whereabouts, they brought the dog to the animal shelter, hoping to find some answers. However, a call from the vet the following day left the police scrambling for answers. When the police first got the call from one of Harry Ligma's family members reporting him missing, they didn't think much of it. After a small background check, they believed this was an easy case to solve. However, with the implications of the dog they had found and what the vet had found after their examination, it seemed like the officers would get more than what they bargained for. Officer Liam Reynolds had been the officer who had taken it upon himself to solve the case. "It will be easy enough," he had boasted to his colleagues after getting Harry's information. The woman who had reported him missing had nothing to worry about. Reynolds was sure of that. However, following the breadcrumb trail, he would soon find that he was very wrong about that. "We'll search his home first," Reynolds has told his partner and colleague, Officer Zoe Green, who had complied with his suggestion. The family member gladly gave them the key, telling them she hadn't been able to find anything herself that would give a clue, but she was hoping the officer's keen eyes would be able to find something she had missed. Reynolds turned the key in its lock, opening the door with a soft creak. "There is no one here," Officer Green said, after the two perked their ears to hear any sounds. The two nodded and started their search. "It is spotless in here," Reynolds said, a frown on his face as he couldn't help but shake the feeling that everything was too clean in Harry Ligma's home. "We have to look in every nook and cranny," Officer Green said, as they nodded at one another and split up. Liam thought he knew where to look and went to Harry's bedroom. However, no matter how much he tried, he found nothing. He became frustrated. The case was not as easy as it had originally seemed. At least, that was until he suddenly heard a loud voice yelling out his name. Reynolds abandoned the room and dashed over to the sound, only to see Officer Green standing in the study, papers in hand. Her brows were furrowed as she read the papers. "What's wrong? What have you found?" Liam asked, trying to read the documents over her shoulder, but Zoe turned around, determination on her face before he could. "Didn't we run like 3 background checks on Harry Ligma?" Zoe asked, not looking at Liam as if deep in thought. Officer Reynolds couldn't understand what was happening. What had Zoe found on that document? "Yes, we did. It was clean. According to his record, he is just a standard citizen with his home, business, and dog on his record." "Why?" "I think we have to go to his office. Wasn't that the final place that Harry had been spotted anyway? I just have a feeling that is the place we have to be instead of here," Zoe said, placing the documents back together and taking them with her. Officer Reynolds couldn't help but feel like Zoe was onto more than she originally let on, but decided to follow her gut feeling and go to Harry's office address. Arriving at Harry's office, Officer Green couldn't get out of the car fast enough. Officer Reynolds found this strange, but followed her after parking the car. He was coming over when he heard a yelp from inside the building. Officer Reynolds quickly went inside, finding Zoe crouched next to something Liam couldn't yet recognize. "Green, are you all right?" Liam asked. As he approached, he noticed she was only checking the animal she had crouched next to. It was an obese brown dachshund. "Yeah, I am fine, but we must send Harry's dog to the vet. This cannot be healthy, and for it to be abandoned." Officer Reynolds quickly called the nearby vet, not knowing that this dog had a vital clue about where Harry Ligma could be. Officers Reynolds and Green waited outside Harry's office, feeling the cold air cut through their jackets. Zoe glanced at Liam, her eyes reflecting his unease. "Something's not adding up," she said. Liam nodded, tapping his foot impatiently. They both knew this wasn't just an ordinary missing person case. They couldn't shake off the lingering feeling that they were missing something obvious. But what could it be? Their thoughts were interrupted by the sound of an approaching car. The vet arrived, parking hastily and stepping out with a focused look. With measured steps, she approached the officers. "Where's the dog?" she asked. Reynolds motioned towards the office. The vet nodded and entered the office, quickly finding the obese brown dachshund. "I'll take him for examination," she said, lifting the dog gently. Green and Reynolds exchanged glances, their minds racing with questions as they watched her leave. Despite the scene unfolding, the nagging feeling persisted. Back at the precinct, Reynolds was going through Harry's file when his phone rang abruptly. "It's the vet," he said, his tone immediately serious. "She wants us to come down to the clinic right away." Green's eyes widened, understanding the urgency. They grabbed their coats and rushed out, leaving a trail of scattered papers. What could be so important about this dog? They drove in silence, each lost in their thoughts, anticipation building with every passing moment. At the clinic, the vet met them with a concerned look. "There's something you need to see," she said, leading them to a small examination room. She pointed to a computer screen. "The dog's chip and collar have different owners and addresses. This discrepancy could be a huge break in your case." Reynolds and Green leaned in, scrutinizing the information. It didn't make immediate sense, but it felt like the first real lead they'd had. Hope flickered in their eyes. The vet handed the officers a printout detailing the conflicting information. Reynolds and Green pored over it, trying to make sense of the data. "This address isn't far from Harry's office," Green noted, her finger tracing the printed lines. "Could be worth checking out," Reynolds replied, folding the paper carefully. They knew they had to follow this lead. With renewed determination, they thanked the vet and left the clinic, their minds abuzz with possibilities. On the drive back to the precinct, Reynolds and Green went over the strange inconsistency in the dog's records. Why would the dog have two different sets of information? Reynolds pondered aloud. "Maybe someone was trying to hide something," Green suggested. Reynolds nodded, eyes on the road but mind racing. They agreed something bigger had to be at play. It was becoming clear this wasn't just a missing person case. They had to dig deeper to uncover the truth. Back at the precinct, Green voiced what they were both thinking. "We need to look at Harry's documents again, see if there's any link to the new address." Reynolds agreed, and they set to work, spreading out papers and scrutinizing every detail. Green's eyes darted across the pages with renewed focus. "Any luck?" Reynolds asked. "Not yet, but we'll find something." "We have to," Green replied, determination lacing her words. They worked in silence, the tension palpable. During their search, Green's hand paused over a seemingly mundane business card. She flipped it over and noticed a scribbled note hidden in the folds. "Reynolds, look at this," she called. He moved beside her, peering at the card. "It's a series of numbers. Looks like a code," Green said, eyes narrowing in thought. "Could be a combination or a clue," Reynolds replied. It wasn't much, but it was something. They knew this could be the breakthrough they desperately needed. Reynolds suggested they check out the address from the printout. "We should go there, see if it leads to anything," he said. Just then, his phone rang. It was the family member who initially reported Harry missing, providing an additional clue. "Harry was involved in something potentially dangerous," the voice said. Reynolds' eyes widened. "Thanks for letting us know," he replied, a new sense of urgency gripping him. They wasted no time, heading out to follow this new lead. The new clue hinting at Harry's involvement in something dangerous only intensified their curiosity. What could Harry have gotten himself into? Green mused as they drove towards the address. "Whatever it is, it sounds serious," Reynolds responded. They arrived at the location, a nondescript building that looked out of place. The stakes felt higher now. They exchanged a determined glance, ready to uncover the truth. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was personal, and they wouldn't stop until they found Harry. The address led them to an industrial part of town, filled with old warehouses and rusting fences. Reynolds and Green parked their car at a distance, observing the building. It looked unassuming, almost abandoned, with boarded-up windows and graffiti-covered walls. But something about it felt off. They sat in silence, both sensing they were on the brink of a discovery that could change everything. This place, they knew, needed a closer look. Reynolds and Green decided to stake out the place to get a better sense of what was going on. They settled in their car, taking turns watching the building through binoculars. Hours passed as day turned into night, but their patience paid off. During their surveillance, they noticed unusual activity, people entering and leaving through a side door. Whatever was happening here, it was anything but ordinary. They saw trucks arriving at odd hours, unloading cargo that seemed suspiciously well guarded. People were being overly secretive, glancing around nervously before slipping inside. Every movement confirmed their suspicions. This was no simple abandoned warehouse. Reynolds scribbled notes while Green took photos, documenting each suspicious activity they observed. The more they watched, the more it became clear that something big was going on here. Just as they were reviewing their notes, Green grabbed Reynolds' arm. "Look, it's him," she said, pointing. They recognized an associate of Harry's from the background check photos, carrying a heavy-looking briefcase. He was one of the people going in and out of the building. Seeing him here only increased their determination. This wasn't just a coincidence. It was a lead they had to pursue carefully. Despite the crucial detail, they knew it was too risky to move in without sufficient backup. "We can't take this on alone," Reynolds whispered, eyes still fixed on the building. Green nodded in agreement, her face tense. "Let's report this and request more support," she suggested. They decided to gather as much evidence as possible before making any move, ensuring they were well prepared for what lay ahead. Back at the precinct, they hurriedly discussed their findings with their superior. The unusual activities and the familiar associate's presence made it clear something significant was happening. Their superior didn't need much convincing. "All right, we'll authorize more extensive surveillance," he said, handing them additional resources. This was the break they needed. With the authorization in place, they planned to set up cameras and microphones around the building. Equipped with high-tech gear, Reynolds and Green returned to the location under the cover of darkness. They skillfully set up cameras and microphones around the building's perimeter, making sure the devices were well hidden. Each camera angle and microphone placement was crucial for capturing the incriminating evidence they suspected was inside. Their hearts raced, knowing they were inching closer to uncovering the truth about Harry's disappearance. The hours they spent reviewing the footage were intense. The recordings revealed a flurry of illicit activities, people exchanging suspicious packages, trucks moving goods under the radar, and whispered conversations about transactions. "This looks like smuggling," Green said, eyes widening. "Or maybe even money laundering," Reynolds speculated. The evidence was piling up, pointing to a complex and illegal operation hidden behind the building's unassuming facade. Focused on their new lead, they decided to track the familiar associate they had spotted. They hoped he would lead them to Harry, or at least provide more clues. "Let's keep a close watch on him," Reynolds suggested. They followed him discreetly, maintaining a safe distance. Each time he made a move, they recorded it, hoping it would lead to something significant. He was their best chance at finding Harry. Armed with compelling evidence, Reynolds and Green began planning a raid. However, just as they laid out their strategy, an urgent tip-off came in. "We've got a new potential location where Harry might be held," the caller informed them. The new information threw a wrench in their plans. With their hearts pounding, they knew they had to check this tip immediately. Every second counted in their race to find Harry. The urgent tip led them to a nearby dockyard with numerous shipping containers and restricted zones. The area was expansive, gritty with rusting metal and old shipping crates. "This place gives me the creeps," Green muttered. Reynolds nodded in agreement, scanning the area for any signs of life. Guided by the tip, they moved towards the heart of the dockyard, staying alert for any signs of danger or ambush. Moving cautiously, Reynolds and Green advanced without getting detected. Every step was calculated, every shadow examined. "Stay low and follow me," whispered Reynolds, leading the way. They spotted a lone sentry near one of the restricted zones. With swift, synchronized movements, they approached from either side. Before the sentry could react, Reynolds grabbed him while Green secured his weapon. "Got him," Green confirmed as they restrained the sentry quietly. They discovered a hidden entrance to an underground bunker concealed behind stacked crates. Muffled conversations and the faint hum of machinery emanated from below. Green gestured to Reynolds, signaling she had heard it too. They exchanged a glance, understanding the gravity of what lay beneath. "We need to be sure of what we're dealing with," Reynolds said softly. As intriguing as the bunker was, they knew rushing in unprepared was foolish. Deciding it was too risky to enter unprepared, they called for backup. Reynolds's voice was steady as he relayed their location, emphasizing the need for immediate support. Impatience gnawed at both of them as they waited, eyes locked on the hidden entrance. "We have to be ready for anything," Green whispered, her grip tightening on her flashlight. Minutes felt like hours, tension hanging thick in the air as they kept watch. Backup arrived, and the coordinated raid on the underground bunker commenced. With tactical precision, the team moved in, weapons ready and hearts pounding. The surprise element was on their side. "Go, go, go!" Reynolds urged, leading the charge. Officers spread out, covering each other as they breached the entrance. The sound of boots hitting the floor echoed through the confined space, signaling their determined advance into the unknown. The element of surprise worked as they quickly neutralized the guards. Each sentry fell with little resistance, overwhelmed by the sudden assault. "Secure the perimeter," Reynolds ordered. Green and the other officers moved swiftly, subduing any remaining threats. The air was thick with urgency, their mission clear. With the guards incapacitated, they pressed deeper into the bunker, the labyrinth of rooms revealing itself with each cautious step forward. Inside, they found a labyrinth of rooms filled with illegal contraband and several captives. "Over here," Green called out, her flashlight illuminating crates marked with foreign symbols. Reynolds moved to one of the rooms where people were huddled, bound and frightened. "We're here to help," he reassured them, while signaling for more officers to assist. Each room seemed to uncover a new layer of the illicit operation they had stumbled upon. Desperately searching, Reynolds and Green found Harry malnourished, but alive. "Harry!" Reynolds called, spotting him slumped in a corner. Green rushed over, checking his pulse. "He's weak, but he'll make it," she confirmed. They carefully lifted him, providing support on either side. "We've got him!" Reynolds shouted into his radio. A wave of relief washed over them as they began the crucial task of escorting Harry to safety. Escorting Harry to safety, they took him for immediate medical evaluation. Paramedics on site quickly assessed his condition, loading him onto a stretcher. "Hang in there, Harry," Green urged as they fastened the straps. Reynolds watched with a mix of relief and urgency. "He's in good hands now," a paramedic assured them. They knew their job wasn't over yet, but seeing Harry safe brought a sense of accomplishment they desperately needed. Back at the station, Harry provided vital information about the ringleaders during his debrief. "It's an international smuggling ring," he began, voice hoarse but determined. Fear for his life had driven him to gather proof, leading to his kidnapping. Reynolds and Green listened intently, jotting down every detail. Harry's testimony, combined with the evidence from the raid, painted a clearer picture. They knew they were closing in on the criminals behind this operation. Harry revealed it was an international smuggling ring he had inadvertently uncovered. Reynolds and Green exchanged serious glances, understanding the enormity of the situation. They listened as Harry explained how he stumbled upon the operation. "I had no idea what I was getting into," Harry admitted, his voice shaky. The officers knew they had to tread carefully. This was bigger than anything they had handled before. He had tried to gather proof to expose the operation, leading to his kidnapping. "I thought I could outsmart them," Harry confessed. But they were always a step ahead. Reynolds nodded, jotting down notes. "Don't worry, Harry. We'll make sure they pay," Green assured him. Harry's account filled in the missing pieces, bringing new urgency to their investigation. The officers knew they were now dealing with dangerous individuals. Harry's testimony and raid evidence helped to build a solid case against the criminals. This is exactly what we needed, Reynolds said, flipping through the files. Green nodded, agreeing. With this, we can bring down the whole operation, she added. The evidence was piling up, their case growing stronger with every new revelation. They were on the brink of something huge, and they could feel it. Reynolds and Green felt accomplished, but knew the case wasn't fully closed. There's still more to uncover, Green remarked, her eyes scanning their notes. Reynolds agreed, feeling the weight of unfinished business. They had made significant progress, but there were still loose ends. Let's tie up these loose ends and make sure there's no escape for these guys, Reynolds stated firmly. Their resolve was stronger than ever. They focused on tying the address from the dog's chip to the bigger picture. This address has to be significant, Green said, holding the printout. Reynolds nodded. It could be the key to understanding everything Harry was investigating, he replied. They pored over maps and documents, trying to piece it all together. The new address felt like the final puzzle piece, and they were determined to see where it led. Back at the station, they revisited the address from the dog's chip. Let's see if we missed anything, Reynolds suggested. Green agreed, pulling out the documents they had collected. This might be our last chance to find something crucial, she said. The room filled with the rustle of papers as they methodically examined each piece, searching for any overlooked clue that could bring them closer to the truth. The address matched one of the documents Green had earlier found, urging further inspection. We've seen this address before, Green noted, her finger tracing the lines on the page. Reynolds leaned in, eyes widening. It's right here, in this contract, he confirmed. This connection was too significant to ignore. They knew they had to revisit the place, but this time they would be more thorough. Their next move was clear. Returning to the new address, they searched thoroughly once again. Leave no stone unturned, Reynolds instructed. Green nodded, opening cabinets and checking under furniture. They moved with purpose, every motion precise and deliberate. This time, they couldn't afford to miss anything. There's something here, I can feel it, Green said, her voice tinged with urgency. Their meticulous search soon paid off with a crucial discovery. They discovered hidden compartments with detailed records and financial documents pointing to corruption. Look at this, Green said, pulling out a ledger. Reynolds examined it closely. These numbers, they're huge, he remarked. The documents revealed transactions and names that pointed to high-level corruption. Harry was onto something massive, Green observed. They knew this evidence was pivotal, solidifying their case. The pieces were finally coming together. It became clear Harry was close to exposing a massive illegal scheme before his kidnapping. He was so close, Reynolds said, shaking his head. Green held up a document. This must have been the trigger, she said, pointing to the data that Harry had gathered. Their respect for Harry's bravery grew as the magnitude of his discovery sank in. We need to finish what he started, Reynolds resolved, determination shining in his eyes. After their lengthy investigation, Reynolds and Green discovered that several high-level individuals were implicated. These weren't just small-time criminals. They found politicians, business tycoons, and even law enforcement officials had ties to the illegal operation. This goes deeper than we thought, Green observed, her voice laced with shock. The evidence they collected was substantial, providing the crucial pieces needed to bring these powerful people to justice. The connection between the dog's false identity and Harry's investigation unraveled the entire operation. It was like a domino effect. Once they understood the significance of the mismatched chip and collar, everything started to make sense. It all ties back to Harry's findings, Reynolds said. The false identity of the dachshund was more than just a minor detail. It was a critical clue that exposed the breadth of the operation. This discovery connected all the dots they needed. Going back through the address's hidden compartments, they uncovered all necessary documents and evidence. Financial records, transaction logs, and names of individuals involved were meticulously documented. This is it, Green said, holding up a stack of papers. Reynolds nodded. We have everything we need. The evidence was damning, clearly outlining the corruption and crimes committed. The trail of documents tied back to several high-profile people, ensuring no one involved could escape justice. With more concrete evidence, the team began an extensive operation to bring everyone involved to justice. They planned coordinated arrests and legal action against the implicated high-profile individuals. "We need to act fast and hit them hard," Reynolds instructed. Green and the rest of the team spread out, each with specific targets to apprehend. The operation was meticulously planned, ensuring that no one who played a part in the illicit activities could evade capture. Legal proceedings and arrests started, based on all the uncovered evidence. One by one, the high-profile individuals were taken into custody. "We've got them," Green said triumphantly as they watched the news broadcast the arrests. The courtroom was filled with undeniable evidence, leaving little room for the defense. With each day, Reynolds and Green felt more assured that justice would be served. The illegal operations that once seemed untouchable were now exposed to the light of the law. Harry's detailed account and the compiled evidence solidified their case, leading to successful prosecutions. High-ranking officials faced severe consequences, their web of corruption laid bare before the courts. "Justice is finally being served," Reynolds remarked. Green nodded, admiring Harry's bravery that had paved the way for these convictions. The prosecutions were monumental, sending a clear message that no one was above the law. It was a victory not just for them, but for everyone who had suffered. Reynolds and Green received commendations for their outstanding work on the case. "You both went above and beyond," their superior praised during the small ceremony. The applause from their peers felt well earned. "Couldn't have done it without you," Reynolds told Green, a nod of mutual respect passing between them. It wasn't about the affirmation as much as the acknowledgement that their dedication and hard work had made a significant impact. They had made a difference. The successful operation brought down a major smuggling rings operation. The dismantling of the ring was comprehensive, ensuring that their networks couldn't recover easily. "We've dealt a massive blow to their operations," Green said, satisfaction evident in her tone. Reynolds agreed. "This will send ripples through their entire network." The victory was not just theirs. It was a win for every law enforcement officer who fought against crime and corruption every single day. With the case closed, Reynolds and Green felt a deep sense of accomplishment. "We did it," Green said softly, the weight of the journey catching up with her. Reynolds nodded, feeling the same. "Harry can sleep safely now, knowing his work wasn't in vain," he replied. They had not only solved the case, but had brought justice to a wronged man. The satisfaction they felt was profound, marking one of the most significant accomplishments of their careers. The clue from the vet's scan, the dog's chip and collar with different owners, played a pivotal role. It was the turning point that cracked the case wide open. "Who knew such a small detail could be so important?" Reynolds mused. Green nodded. "It's always the little things." Without that crucial clue, they might never have connected Harry's investigation to the broader criminal operation. It was a reminder that in detective work, every detail counts. The mismatched addresses led to uncovering a thread that exposed a broader illegal conspiracy. As Reynolds and Green put the pieces together, it became clear that the operation was more intricate than they had initially thought. Every new clue tied back to a network of illegal activities spread across several cities. The deeper they dug, the more connections they uncovered, each one more alarming than the last. This was no small-time operation. The coordinated efforts and detailed investigation led to a complete unravelling of the operation. Each layer revealed more about how the criminals orchestrated their schemes, involving multiple fronts to muddy the waters. Reynolds and Green worked tirelessly, following leads, cross-referencing information, and pulling together a comprehensive case. Their dedication paid off when they identified the key players in the conspiracy. It was a complex puzzle, but each piece they found made the picture clearer. Harry's bravery in gathering evidence was crucial to bringing the operation to light. His actions, despite the risk to his safety, had provided the backbone for the investigation. Without his courage, we wouldn't have known where to start, Green admitted. Each document, every piece of information he had collected, helped to construct a solid case against the criminals. Harry's efforts were the foundation upon which the entire operation was built. The team pieced together evidence illustrating extensive illegal activities and high-level corruption. Financial records, transaction logs, secret meetings. They all pointed to an elaborate scheme involving powerful individuals. "This is bigger than we ever imagined," Reynolds said, astonished by the breadth of the operation. Green nodded in agreement, adding, "We need to make sure every implicated person faces justice." Each new discovery added another layer to their already strong case. The case was a significant blow to illegal smuggling and brought much-needed justice to the involved criminals. Their investigation disrupted networks that had operated with impunity for years. "They won't be able to recover from this," Reynolds remarked, satisfaction in his voice. Green added, "This will serve as a warning to others." The successful prosecution of the case marked a major victory in the fight against organised crime. The revelation of the dog's identity was the key that unlocked the bigger criminal operation Harry had stumbled upon. The connection between the mismatched microchip and collar had puzzled them initially, but it ultimately led to the unmasking of an extensive network. "Who would have thought an obese dachshund would be the linchpin?" Green mused. The dog's presence turned out to be more than symbolic. It was central to the investigation's success. Harry began a full recovery as the criminal network's dismantling brought peace of mind to everyone involved. His bravery had not only saved himself, but also exposed a vast illegal operation. "You did good, Harry," Reynolds said during a visit to the hospital. "Because of you, a lot of people are safer now." The dismantling of the network brought a sense of relief and closure to Harry and the entire investigative team. Reynolds and Green were celebrated for their relentless pursuit of justice in the difficult and complex case. "Their dedication deserves recognition," their superior stated during a commendation ceremony. The applause and acknowledgement from their peers felt well earned, highlighting their hard work and commitment. "This wouldn't have been possible without an incredible team effort," Reynolds acknowledged. The commendations symbolised not just personal achievement, but a collective victory against corruption. The case brought significant changes, ensuring tighter regulations and oversight to prevent future illegal operations. Policies were put in place to close the gaps that allowed such activities to thrive unnoticed. "This will make it harder for criminals to operate so freely," Green noted. Reynolds agreed, adding, "We've turned a corner." The changes were a testament to their success, promising a safer community for everyone. Their work had a lasting impact, far beyond the immediate arrests and prosecutions.